let's dust for Prince on the Damian Lillard trade, and how did it come about? Best you can tell here.
I mean, it's kind of what I was just referring to with the Harden stuff. I mean, the Blazers just waited, and they just were patient and waited for the deal that got them what they believed was maximum value. Now, Milwaukee, you go back to early July, and Damian Lillard was not really on the radar of the Milwaukee Bucks. They had a disappointing exit in the playoffs in the first round of Miami, but you can chalk that up to Giannis getting hurt early in that series and Miami just being kind of a team of destiny in a lot of ways. The Bucks at that point were pretty comfortable at just going back into the season, running it back with largely the same group. Giannis still in his prime.
But Giannis then said something
totally
out of character.
This is what changed. Well, I mean, look, Giannis is...
He's getting more
He's emboldened. He's getting emboldened in his older years as he hits his late 20s. Giannis went out and in a couple of different interviews effectively said, we need to be a championship contender or I'm not going to sign the contract. And we need to be on the level of my peers or I'm going to look somewhere else. And that certainly pushed John Horst and the Bucks front office in the direction of Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, in addition to being a great player, one of the best point guards in the NBA, has a good relationship with Giannis. He went to the All-Star game of this past year. Draft chose him first. Yeah. So there's an obvious affection from Giannis to Damian Lillard. And look, do they take a step back defensively with Damian Lillard? Of course. But the biggest weakness in Milwaukee was half-court offense last year. They couldn't get it done in half-court. The numbers were pedestrian at best. Now, and I watched them. I was at the Lakers game the other night watching, for the first 7-8 minutes of that game, Giannis and Lillard in the pick and roll is devastating. I don't know how you defend that if you're an NBA team. Do you come out and blitz Damian Lillard? Okay, then you've got a freight train in Giannis going to the basket. Do you leave Lillard alone coming off a screen? Well, you've got one of the most efficient three-point shooters in the game right now, knocking down threes. It was the right move for them to make and the right move for Portland because, look, right now, what they got out of it effectively was DeAndre Ayton and, 2 first-round draft picks, 3 first-round draft picks. They also have Malcolm Brogdon, who they don't need, who they're eventually going to trade, and Robert Williams, who they really don't need, and they're probably eventually going to trade. So the dust hasn't settled on this Damian Lillard trade for the Portland Trailblazers. They're still going to get more in exchange for him when they deal these other 2 veterans. So they could walk away, theoretically, with DeAndre Ayton, who... despite the criticism, is still in his mid-20s and averaged 18 and 10 as a third option last year on the Phoenix Suns. They'll have a high-level all-star caliber center and perhaps as many as 4 or 5 first-round picks in exchange for Lillard. In today's market, that's really good.
That's a killer. And then the Suns are also a beneficiary of it, too. Lillard out, Ayton gone, and they made out very well in this trade, too, right?
We'll see if the Suns benefit from this. I wrote a story in Sports Illustrated. It's out, the preview issue. It's out right now about kind of how the sausage was made in Phoenix, how they came to this decision about going all in, really zigging when the rest of the NBA was zagging with all the spending that they did. And at the time, Ayton was going to be a part of that group. And I believe that was the right decision to keep DeAndre Ayton around because they hire Frank Vogel. And what is Frank Vogel really good at? He's really good at getting the most out of centers. He rehabilitated and resuscitated Roy Hibbert when they were in Indiana. Roy Hibbert became a big-time center when Frank Vogel was the head coach. He won a championship in L.A. with Dwight Howard playing center. He revived Dwight Howard temporarily in L.A. I was interested to see how Frank Vogel would do with DeAndre Ayton, if you'd be able to connect with him in ways that Monty Williams could not. The Suns, though, what they elected to do was they sacrificed a star for depth. They got a lot of role players, Nasir Little, Grayson Allen, a bunch of guys that you can put out there on the floor theoretically in a playoff game. Maybe it works. I need to see it in action. I need to see what it looks like. But I think without DeAndre Ayton, they lose something defensively in the middle. Yusuf Nurkic is not the player DeAndre Ayton is. And I think they lose a little bit more offense in that low post as well.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.